Mr. President, it was 11 years ago that I introduced a bill called the DREAM Act, a piece of legislation that would give a select group of immigrant students who grew up in this country the chance to earn their citizenship if they were of good moral character and if they're prepared to serve in the military or complete at least 2 years of college. The young people who would be eligible for the DREAM Act came to be known as the Dreamers. These are young people brought to the United States as children and infants. They grew up in this country overcoming great obstacles. They will be our future doctors, our engineers, our teachers, our lawyers, our soldiers. They will make America a better nation. They didn't make the decision originally to come to this country. It was a decision made by their parents. And if their parents were breaking the law in that decision, I don't believe that the children should be held responsible. That's not the American way. Like the civil rights activists of past generations, the Dreamers are speaking out. They are telling their stories publicly, even though many of them know that they risk deportation from the only country they've ever known as home. They have organized rallies and marches where they advocate for the DREAM Act, and they've declared their undocumented status. They wear T-shirts and carry signs that bear their slogan, undocumented and unafraid. These Dreamers have been by my side every step of the way, fighting for the DREAM Act for 11 years, and I'm proud of them. In 2007, the first time the DREAM Act came to a vote on the floor of the Senate, there were a few Dreamers sitting right up in the gallery. We had 52 votes that day. It was a bipartisan majority. Frankly, we've always had a bipartisan majority, but we've never had the 60 votes we need to overcome the Republican filibuster against the DREAM Act. 3 years later, in December of 2010, the DREAM Act was again considered on the floor of the Senate. This time, it was different. The Senate gallery was filled to capacity with Dreamers wearing graduation gowns and caps. It was an inspiring sight. That day, 55 senators voted for the DREAM Act. Again, another bipartisan majority, but again, fell short of the 60 votes that we needed to defeat a Republican filibuster of the DREAM Act. Now, I made a commitment that day after that vote was lost to the young people who would be eligible for the DREAM Act that I wouldn't give up, that I'd keep on fighting for the DREAM Act as long as it takes to make it a law. Well, since that vote in December of 2010, I have come to the floor of the United States Senate to tell the Dreamers' stories. I think it's the best way for people to understand the DREAM Act. Today, I want to tell you about another Dreamer. Her name is Erica Andiola. Erica was brought to America from Mexico when she was 11 years old. She grew up in Arizona and enrolled at Arizona State University. But then Arizona passed a new law prohibiting public universities from giving financial aid or in-state tuition rates to undocumented students. Hundreds of students were forced to drop out of school. Erica persevered. She graduated with honors from Arizona State with a bachelor's degree in psychology. She's been very active in advocating for immigrants and the DREAM Act. She's the founding president of the Arizona DREAM Act Coalition. Her dream is to be a school counselor. The story I've just told of Erica Andiola is the 50th Dreamer whose story I've told on the Senate floor. It's an amazing group. It includes Dreamers who grew up in 17 different states, from Oregon and Washington in the Pacific Northwest, and I see my colleague Senator Murray on the floor, to Illinois and Michigan in the Midwest, to North Carolina and Georgia in the Southeast. These Dreamers came from all over the world to America, from 19 different countries, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, and Central America. Yet all of them had something in common. Their home's America. They're just asking for a chance to give back to this great country. To mark the occasion of this, my 50th Dreamer story on the floor of the Senate, many of the Dreamers that I've featured on the floor have made a trip to Washington and have gathered in the gallery. They're here this morning, and I'd like to take a few minutes to recognize them. Let me start with the person who started the DREAM Act, Teresa Lee. Teresa was brought to the United States when she was 2 years old to the city of Chicago. She received her bachelor's and master's degrees from the Manhattan Conservatory of Music, where she's currently pursuing her doctorate. The next person I'd like to refer to is Eric Balderas. Eric came to the United States from Mexico when he was 4 years old. He was valedictorian and student council president at his high school in San Antonio, Texas. He's now a student at Harvard University, where he's majoring in molecular and cellular biology. His dream is to become a cancer researcher. The next is Manuel Bartsch. Manuel came to this country from Germany. Manuel came to this country from Germany when he was a child. He recently graduated from Heidelberg University in Ohio with a major in political science and a minor in history, and he wants to pursue a career in government and politics. The next is Kelsey Burke. Kelsey came here from Honduras when she was 10 years old. She graduated from Florida Atlantic University with a major in public communications. She'll begin law school this fall, and she dreams of becoming an attorney. The next is Julieta Garibay. Came to America when she was 11 years old. She graduated from the University of Texas with a bachelor's and master's degree in nursing, has been a registered nurse since 2004. She dreams of serving in our military as a military nurse. The next is Maria Gomez. Maria came to the United States from Mexico when she was 8 years old, graduated from UCLA with a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's degree in architecture. She dreams someday of being a licensed architect in America. The next, Angelica Hernandez, came here when she was 9, graduated from Arizona State University as the outstanding senior in the mechanical engineering department. Someday she wants to be a licensed engineer in the United States of America. The next is Ola Queso. I'll let Joe catch up with me here. Ola was brought to the United States from Albania at the age of 5. She is a pre-med student in the honors program at the University of Michigan. Her dream is to be a surgical oncologist. The next is Sahid Limon, brought to America from Bangladesh when he was 9 years old. He graduated from East Carolina University with a bachelor's degree in biology. The next, John Magdaleno. John came to the United States from Venezuela when he was 9 years old. He's an honors student at Georgia Tech University, where he's a biomedical engineering major. The next is Tolu Olabume. Tolu was brought to America from Nigeria at the age of 14. She obtained a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering 10 years ago. She has never worked a day as a chemical engineer because she can't be licensed. That's her dream, to be a licensed engineer. Here's Gabby Pacheco. Gabby came to the United States from Ecuador at the age of 7. She's earned 2 associate's degrees in education, now working on her bachelor's. She wants to teach autistic children. She has become an extraordinary leader in this movement. Pedro Pedroza is next. Came to the United States when he was 5 years old, grew up in Chicago, graduated from Cornell University with a BA in Spanish literature and a minor in Latino studies. His dream is to be a teacher. And now 2 brothers who are here in the gallery, Carlos and Rafael Robles. Carlos majoring in education at Loyola in Chicago. He dreams of being a teacher, and he may get his chance at Palatine High School. Rafael majoring in architecture at the University of Illinois in Chicago. Of course, he dreams of being a licensed architect. Next is Novi Roy. Came to America from India as a child. Novi graduated from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign with a bachelor's degree in economics, 2 master's degrees, 1 in business administration and 1 in human resources. His dream is to help provide affordable health care for all Americans. The next, Felipe Souza Rodriguez. Felipe came to the United States from Brazil when he was 14. He recently graduated summa cum laude from St. Thomas University with a bachelor's degree in business studies and a minor in economics. His ambition is to be a teacher. And the last is Cesar Vargas, another good friend who was brought to the U.S. when he was 5 years old, and he recently graduated from the City University of New York School of Law with honors. He dreams of one day serving in the Judge Advocate General Corps, of being in our military and serving the nation that he loves. I want to thank all the dreamers who are here today and have gathered in the gallery. They've come a long way. It took an extra effort for them to come to Washington and to step forward and to allow me to share their stories again with the people who follow this debate. Today I'm launching American Dreamers, a new website featuring the dreamers whose stories I've told on the floor of the Senate, including all of those who are here today. We're going to update this website as I tell more stories. You can find it www.durbin.senate.gov/dreamers. This is a hopeful time for the dreamers. It's better than it's been in a long time, because this president and his administration recently announced that we will give the dreamers temporary legal status to be here in America. This status will allow them to live and work legally without fear of deportation. The status needs to be renewed every 2 years, but they get their chance. It gives these young immigrants an opportunity to come out of the shadows and be part of the only country they've ever called home. The Obama administration's new policy will make America a stronger and better nation by giving these dreamers a chance to be part of our future. This policy has strong bipartisan support in Congress. My special thanks to Senator Richard Lugar of Indiana, who joined me in co-sponsoring this bill and asking for this status on immigration years ago. It took extraordinary political courage for him to do that, and I thank him once again, as I have before. According to recent polls, the American people think the president's right in giving these dreamers a chance to earn their way toward legal status by a margin of almost 2-1. A future president could come along and change this policy, so the dreamers are still at risk, but they are prepared to step up, to follow the law, and to become part of America's future with permanent residency someday, and perhaps citizenship, which is our ultimate dream. The president's new policy is a step in the right direction, but ultimately it is Congress that must act, the House and the Senate, to pass the DREAM Act and give these young people who've gathered here today, and thousands more just like them, a path to citizenship in America. I want to give special thanks to Majority Leader Harry Reid. The last time we called the DREAM Act, he took a lot of grief for it. They said, oh, it's just a political thing. But it's not. He believes it, as so many of us do, and he was prepared to guide the Senate through a week-long debate to get to a vote. We didn't have enough votes to break the Republican filibuster, but we demonstrated again a bipartisan support for a sound, good idea for America's future. I also want to give special thanks to Joe Zogby, who's sitting on the floor here. Joe is an attorney on my staff who for 11 years now has battled side by side with me to pass the DREAM Act. And Vashali Yildandi, who on our staff as well, has just been terrific in helping us prepare these floor statements and to continue this battle forward. I said to the dreamers the last time it was brought to the floor and we didn't have the votes, I'm not going to give up on you, don't give up on me. We're going to do this. I'm dedicated to them and to the fact that many of us who are the sons and daughters of immigrants, and frankly that includes almost all of us in this country, understand that the diversity of immigration has made America a stronger place. These DREAM students will prove once again, as generations have before, that given a chance, they will make America a better country. Mr. President, I yield the floor.